answer to. I'm half crazy,
all for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage.
Hello, Cubanwriter here, and today I'm going to review a series that is different from the usual. The other day, I was browsing Amazon's video collection. They have a number of shows that you can watch for free as a Prime member. And one of the shows that came up was called Nobility. And when I brought up details on it, it appeared to be some kind of comedy or sci-fi drama spoof. And I thought, well, that's fun. That's a lot like the upcoming Orville that's coming from Seth MacFarlane. Let me see what they did with it. It only had 3 episodes available on Amazon, so it was fairly quick to get through it all. What I found was very different from what I imagined. A lot of times on YouTube, you'll see fans get together and make a sci-fi show in an established universe, like a custom Star Trek episode, with either stand-ins for the original cast or people playing the crew of another ship. Or sometimes you'll see something Star Wars related, usually with Jedis and Siths duking it out with lightsabers. These fan productions that you see usually aren't well funded, if funded at all. They're usually using volunteer fans from the community, have exceptionally low production values, and are there just for fun. Nobility looks a lot like one of these productions, but here it is on Amazon, where videos are presumably made for profit. I did a little research and I found a crowdfunding campaign for Nobility that was years old and had information that didn't quite match up with what I saw. I can only imagine that whoever made Nobility was working on it for some time, trying to get the money and resources together in order to make their show. It's not based on any established sci-fi universe as you normally expect with these kinds of productions. It's an original universe that simply tries to spoof certain aspects of existing sci-fi dramas, and it does so to limited effect. The idea basically appears to be a UFP analog that has a flagship, or a premier ship in the fleet, that is crewed by imbeciles, and an outsider alien comes in to join the crew, who operates kind of like Spock on the Enterprise, as the straight person who contrasts with the goofy antics of the people already on board. What really surprised me about this show was that despite being made on a budget of at least thousands of dollars, they managed to assemble professional actors who were quite competent. They even got some famous sci-fi alumni like Walter Koenig, who appeared both on Star Trek as Chekhov and as Bester on Babylon 5. What's remarkable about all of this acting talent is how the script absolutely wastes their ability. Time and again, I see an actor or actress who I have seen on better shows and who has done a more interesting performance elsewhere. They are capable of handling a good script and delivering a more nuanced performance. But unfortunately, they seem to be saddled with a script and possibly a director who isn't able to make the most of their ability. Almost nothing is subtle in the early episodes of this series. Occasionally, an actor will sneak in a normal-looking performance, but by and large, that's just not possible here. People are extreme parodies of even the caricatures that they represent. It's so disappointing to see these people wasted in this way. The show can't present us with someone who's simply a quirky or minor eccentric. No, their qualities have to be blown way out of proportion, and yet in such a way that doesn't provide any humor. This is a major failing of the script, in my opinion, and was further exacerbated by the direction the actors were given. No director could have gotten these performances by accident. For instance, this character is supposed to be a cowboy, but it's not enough for him to have subtle cowboy traits. He has to wear a cowboy hat, and then he has to further do a rodeo routine in the captain's chair while everyone's away. Walter Koenig is a grumbling, mumbling, drunken engineer who cannot string 2 words together that make any kind of sense. He has quote-unquote pratfall comedy as he's electrocuted in the engineering room. This might all be fine if it all contributed to something that could be perceived as a good joke or a funny scenario, but none of it does. It all just falls very flat. I thought I'd be telling everyone that there was nothing redeeming about this show, but I really can't say that. About halfway through the second episode and moving on into the third episode, the show gave up a lot of its stupid comedy elements and started focusing on a halfway interesting drama. The central plot mystery of something unusual going on in the depths of space began to become more interesting and was more focused upon. There was a halfway decent martial arts scene between a couple of the main characters, and there was some good shootout action on the bridge and elsewhere. It began to resemble the show I wish it had been from the beginning. By abandoning comedy elements that weren't working, it stopped distracting from its own plot. When characters began to drop their unusual behavioral traits, it became easier to watch them and get involved in their story. I almost feel like the creator of the show realized that things weren't working out early on, and then shifted course halfway through. I wish they had started the show this way because it might have been something. Returning briefly to the topic of production value, it looks like they used a special focusing and lighting technique that highlighted characters while blurring the backgrounds being either digitally constructed using green screen effects or hastily cobbled together with available components. I think they probably only had 1, 2, or maybe 3 sets on the show, which they just continuously redressed for new purposes. But the poor quality sets could easily be forgiven, even when they are almost laughably poor, because I'm prepared to suspend my disbelief if I'm enjoying the story. If they had started telling a more serious story at the outset, none of these things would be likely to bother me very much. The exterior scenes are done fairly competently. I like the design of the ship. I like the space effects. I like the combat effects. They're all perfectly passable. They're not cinematic quality, but they are quite good enough. The music is fairly well done. I enjoyed the soaring score where it appears during inspirational moments that I wish were just a little more inspirational. Everything about this production that is inferior could be forgiven if just the writing and direction had been better. And what's infuriating is that we begin to see this towards the end of the 3-episode series that's available. We begin to see what could have been, but which I fear will now never be, because based on how this starts, I don't think the series will have wide appeal, even if it costs almost nothing to make. Almost nothing is far from nothing. Moreover, I doubt any of the actors involved with the production will look at this series and say, "Oh yeah, I'd like to continue doing this. This is pretty good." Most of the actors involved in this project are used to being in better quality productions. I can only imagine what they thought when they saw what came out of this. And as much as they might want to be charitable by helping new filmmakers, other projects beckon them. Many of the actors involved with this show got hired onto other series after this one, and I'm glad they got a chance to showcase their talents elsewhere. Part of me feels bad judging Nobility so harshly. It's a crowd-funded effort that looks like it was probably started by some fans who are new to the filmmaking industry, and in any other venue I would not be so harsh. But here it is on Amazon Video, right alongside professional for-profit shows, and I have to judge it in that context. I've decided to use cheese slices to represent Nobility because it is, quite frankly, somewhat cheesy, and I give the series 1 out of 5 cheese slices when viewed in the context of a professional production. If I were to view it as simply a fan production done for fun on YouTube, I would probably upgrade this to 3 out of 5 cheese slices. Because as a fan production, with no professional aspirations, it's pretty okay. I hope that the creators, writers, and directors of Nobility keep making new projects. They shouldn't stop with this one just because it's not all it could be. I can see that the formula of using digital backgrounds and out-of-focus backgrounds can actually work to make a fairly inexpensive sci-fi drama, should they choose to do so. And being an inexpensive drama, it wouldn't need a huge audience in order to be profitable. I don't know that they can ever assemble such a large quantity of good actors ever again. But as long as they can just gather together actors who aren't terrible, they should be fine. In the case of this show, the creators' reach exceeded their grasp. But I think, with a few adjustments, they can make good shows in the future and slowly build on a smaller success until they're ready to do a big project again with mainline actors and then become a real success in the industry. So, wishing the creators of Nobility better luck next time. This is Cubanwriter signing off. I'll catch you later.
But you'll look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle built for two. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, do.